Okay. Good morning, everyone. In today's class, we will be discussing about India-China border standoff, as this particular issue keep on coming in the news. Even in yesterday's editorial, also there was a mention. There was a mentioning about this particular issue. Like we have seen, especially on the eastern part of the border, that is along the Ladakh region, the Union Territory of Ladakh. From the past few days, we have seen a kind of standoff between the Indian forces and the Chinese forces. We have seen spread of lot many rumors, like a lot many Chinese forces entered into the Indian side, and Indian forces countered. So we have seen a lot of this information. Okay, so with respect to competitive exam preparation and, to be specific, civil services preparation, where this information can be used, at the same time how we can use this particular information. So ultimately that is our question. So if you want to use this information in prelims point of view, then you have to pay more attention on the geographical part. That is, you have to observe where the line of actual control is, where the McMahon line is. Okay, so you should know this difference, first point. Second point, we have lot many passes. Suppose, for example, there is a pass called as Nathula Pass. Nathula Pass is there. Where it is? It is in Sikkim. There is a pass called as Lipu Lake. Lipulekh. Lipu Lake Pass. It is there along what you call Nepal, near to the Nepal. We have another pass called as Shipkila. Shipkila. Shipkila Pass is there in Himachal Pradesh. So like that, when it comes to preliminary examination, you have to pay attention on the geographical aspect of it. There, the best source is your atlas. When you're reading the newspaper, take up the atlas and try to identify the key places where this standoff is happening and try to know them. In that way, in prelims point of view, this information will be useful. When it comes to mains point of view, this information can be useful in two ways. One is GS paper 2, there we have international relations. There this information can be useful. And the third is we have GS paper 3, we have a topic called as internal security. There we have a topic in internal security called as border management. In the border management, like in what way India is effectively managing its borders, what are the challenges to India with respect to its borders with other countries. Suppose, for example, with respect to India Pakistan, what kind of border challenges we have. India Nepal, what kind of border challenges we have. Suppose, for example, if you see the recent Kalapani dispute, the Kalapani dispute between India and Nepal, it's a border dispute. Okay, same right now. We have continuous border dispute with China since the starting of the war, the 1962 war. So we have a border dispute with China. Okay, so like that, this information will be useful mostly when it comes to the border dispute. When it comes to GS paper 2, we have international relations there. There, whenever India specific the India China challenge, India China relations comes up, there you can use this information. Border dispute is one of the challenge due to which India's relationship with China is keep on in troubled waters. Okay, we keep on having challenges every time whenever it is being strategically used by China also. See, right now China on one side, it is facing the heat due to the COVID-19. At the same time, still China wants to use these particular issues as an opportunity, okay, to divert attention on this COVID-19. It is becoming very much helpful for China to use this border dispute as a opportunity for, like to divert the attention of the people. Again, if you see in 1962, when we faced war with China, that time also, why China has to come for war with India? In the year 1955, we signed an agreement with China, what we call that famously as the Panchashil Agreement. Okay, Indian Prime Minister and the Chinese President, they both mentioned the words like Indo-China bhai bhai. Even after having that much of uh, good rapport we thought to maintain in the 1962, we have to come for the war. There are multiple reasons for it. Suppose, for example, one of the reasons can be giving permission to Dalai Lama into India, because that time when the Tibetan revolution was happening against Chinese revolution, when the Tibetans were going against China, Chinese government suppressed Tibet like anything. So the due to which the Dalai Lama, the Buddhist guru, okay, he along with 20,000 followers of him via the Nathula Pass. Nathula Pass means along the Sikkim. Via Nathula Pass, he entered into India. India eventually provided asylum to these people. This created a huge anger in China that in the latter stages made it to go for a war. This is one reason. Second reason, in 1962, this newly formed communist government, okay, newly formed in the sense in China, that's a new. So this communist government, it wants to prove something at the international level. So waging a war against India also proved its potential. So these are the ways. So because we have a border dispute with China, it is being used by China for its strategic advantage. In that context, we should know how this border dispute creating a challenge between India and China, India-China's relationship, and in prelims point of view, how it has to be used, in mains point of view, how it has to be used, we just explained. Now, let me take some key terms here. Suppose, for example, whenever we come across the word LAC, line of actual control, then it is with China. There is another word called as LOC, line of control. Line of control is a disputed line between India and Pakistan. Both of these lines, remember this point carefully, both of these lines, okay, are called as ceasefire lines. Both of these lines are ceasefire lines. But in the year 1972, under the Shimla Agreement, the ceasefire line between India and Pakistan was renamed as LOC. Okay. At the same time, in the year 1993, because from 1993 onwards, we signed a series of agreements with China to resolve the border dispute. Because till 1990s, because after 1962 war, Rajiv Gandhi was the first prime minister to visit China. After till then, till 1984, I think we don't have any formal relations with China. Okay. So from 1993 onwards, later we started to have some kind of dispute resolutions with China. Accordingly, in 1993 we signed some agreements. 1996 we signed some agreements. Okay, so that's why the ceasefire line between India and China was renamed as Line of Actual Control officially in the year 1993. So this is some basic information. At the same time, I gave some information like, suppose this can be useful in the prelims point of view. In how many states are sharing borders with China? Right now, four Indian states and one union territory. Previously, Jammu Kashmir state, now right now union territory. Union territory of Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh. Along Arunachal Pradesh, the border along Arunachal Pradesh, that is what we call as McMahon line. So that is the eastern side. So in simple terms, eastern side of the border, the line that separates India and China is McMahon line. Western side of the border, that is along the Ladakh region, the line that is separating India and China is line of actual control. This is what in simple terms you have to remember. Okay, so this is the current issue. Now what I'm doing here, now I'm taking up this current issue to the topic. I will be linking this to the border management. What exactly effective border management means? Okay, so if in what way Indian government is actually maintaining its borders? Okay, And what kind of challenges? Do we have any international experience? And what should be the way forward? So this is what. Suppose if you see, normally border management means what exactly we think? We think like border management means just securing the borders. But if you see, border management is not just patrolling along the borders. Border management means what? Border management can be divided into two things. Managing the borders, okay, for the, like suppose for example, we have for the free movement of people, at the same time restricting the people. Okay, so border management, again two divisions: free movement of people, restricting the people. Whom we allow for free movement and whom we allow for restrictions. Free movement means, suppose for example, if a person is coming from China to India, it is for the pure business purpose. Okay, it is for the economic relation. There is no problem. We can easily allow them to cross the border and come to India. If the same person coming to India, okay, to find out our secrets, then we should not allow it. So this is the first point you have to remember. Border management means legal allowment of people, at the same time restricting the illegal movement of people. This is the first point you have to remember. Second point, border management means we should also think about the people who are staying or residing along the borders. Border management also means we should not only take in care of people, those who are crossing the borders, we should also take care of people who are residing along the borders, because they are the ones who will face the heat whenever if any problem occurs. Okay, when it comes to Ladakh, it's like no man's land. We don't have much of human casualties whenever if anything happens. But if you take the case of Pakistan, whenever there is a border dispute issue comes up, then ultimately the people has to suffer there. Okay, so this is the second point. And the third point is what we call this as like how effectively you are using your personnel. Suppose for example, how strong is your army? How strong is your technology? Okay, so this is the third aspect. So that's why ultimately what exactly border management means? Border management is a multifaceted term. That means it's a combination of components. There is a component called as movement of people. There is a component called as taking care of people who are residing along the borders. There is a component called as managing the personnel. Personnel means official, like suppose for example soldiers, and we have the forces. And the next one is how effectively we are using the technology. So this is what ultimately what we call as border management. If you are effectively able to manage it, then you will reduce the dispute. If not, the dispute will continue. So for suppose for example, right now if you see how India is actually tackling its border dispute related challenges. So if you see chronologically if you observe chronologically means here we will take the prime minister point of prime minister to prime minister. In the initial years, that means during the time of Nehruvian times, during Nehruvian times, mostly we have seen the rise of these border disputes, but mostly because of his statesmanship and the initial years of independence. Mostly we face the border challenges with China and Pakistan. With the other states, we don't have much of challenges. But after when Indira Gandhi came to power, then also, suppose for example, we have seen a border dispute with Sri Lanka with respect to Kachativu Island. She was able to manage that very effectively by giving the Kachativu Island to Sri Lanka. Okay, at the same time, because those days at the regional level, we used to showcase our what you call our control. With that, though we have the border challenges with all these neighbors, still we could able to manage. But now what happened? Because on one side we have these border challenges with Pakistan. Next is suppose for example if you take the case of Nepal. With Nepal the border challenge is not quite high. But now this border challenge, this small what you call Kalapani issue with Nepal, now it is being used as opportunity by Nepal as it is hedging with China. because now China is giving open support to Nepal. Now it is being used as an opportunity by Nepal to bargain, to better bargain with India. Okay, previously we used to have border challenges with Bangladesh with respect to the enclaves. Enclaves means presence of Bangladesh places in India and Indian places in Bangladesh. Eventually in 2015, Narendra Modi and Sheikh Hasina, the Indian Prime Minister and the Bangladesh Prime Minister, they both were able to resolve it. So like that, when it comes to certain border disputes, we were able to provide some solution. When it comes to others, still they are continuing. And one such challenge that keep on continuing is with China. Of course, another one is with Pakistan. So that's why border management becomes very crucial nowadays when it comes to India. So now you see the next one. What are the types of borders? As I just mentioned, IBL. First one is IBL, International Boundary Line. When we call one border line as international boundary line, when both the sides of it, when both the sides of it agrees, then only we call that line as international boundary line. Suppose for example, India Pakistan, along Rajasthan, along Gujarat, along Punjab, we have IBL, international boundary line. But when it comes to Jammu Kashmir, along that we do not have the IBL. There what we have is line of control, because that's a disputed line. So if there is a dispute that is there between both the sides, then we won't call that as international boundary line. Then we will be naming, we have some different names for that. When it comes to India, we have LOC and LAC. So that's the difference. So LOC means disputed line between India and Pakistan. LAC, line of actual control, the disputed line between India and China. So these are border types. Next is how India is managing its borders. How we are managing. As I told you, border management is a multifaceted term. It requires multiple dimensions to deal with it. Multiple dimensions means legal entry of people. Legal entry means those who are coming into India for some specific good purpose, to maintain good relations with India. For them, legally we allow them by providing visas. Or if you take the case of Nepal and Bhutan, Nepal and Bhutan people can come to India without even having a visa also, because we have an agreement with them. What we call that agreement as the friendship treaties. 1949 friendship treaty with Bhutan, 1950 friendship treaty with Nepal. Because of these two friendship treaties, there is a free movement of people from Nepal and Bhutan to India and India to Bhutan and Nepal. Okay, but when it comes to all other neighbors, if they are coming for good purpose to India, then if they have the visa, they can come to India. So, so the first one is border management means first through personnel. Personnel means with the help of our forces. Suppose for example, along the Chinese border, we have this specialized force called as ITBP, Indo-Tibet Border Police. Okay, along Myanmar, we have a specified force called as Assam Rifles. Along Bangladesh border, along Pakistan border means specifically Rajasthan and Gujarat. There we have for Punjab. There we have border security force. Along Nepal and along Bhutan, what we have is SSB, Sahastra Seema Bal, SSB, along Nepal and Bhutan. Along the coast guard, what we have is Indian Coast Guard, CG. CG means Coast Guard. Indian Coast Guard, ICG. Okay, so like that we have the personnel. At the same time, we also have the army. Where there is a conflicted region, their army will stay. Suppose for example, along LOC, army will be there. Along LAC, army will be there. Because that's a disputed area, their sovereignty challenges will be there. That's why whenever the sovereignty challenge comes, whoever comes in front, the army. That's why we have the presence of army there. So here we are involving two ministries. One is Ministry of Home Affairs. Second one is Ministry of Defense. When it comes to Army, Navy, Air Force, Minister of Defense will come. Rest of the police forces, Minister of Home Affairs will come. Second one is process. As I told you, For the legitimate purpose, we are okay for that. When it comes to illegitimate purpose, suppose for example, to for the people who are coming to India for the terrorist attacks, or to get spying operations, or to involve into spying operations, in these situations we will be very strict and we will have a scrutiny for that. So for that purpose we are taking the help of technology. So we have this what you call infrared cameras, night vision cameras, electronic fencing, uses of the drones, okay, along with all other arms and ammunition. So in this way, India is actually tackling its border management challenges. So for that, we also have this Department of Border Management. This Department of Border Management, it will take care of the whole border management practices. In what way the security infrastructure has to be built up, how the patrolling should be done, okay, where what kind of infrastructure we have to build in. Okay, see, suppose for example here I mentioned there is a concept called as integrated check post. What is an integrated check post? ICP. The first integrated check post we established along Attari Wagah border, 2012. In the year 2012, under the Manmohan Singh government, we established one check post, ICP. What is an ICP? Under the integrated check post concept, we will be having the presence of army, presence of customs officials, presence of intelligence agencies, integration of trade, security, surveillance. Three things. That's why it is an integrated check post. So this integrated check post concept, what ultimately it is? It is for legal movement of people, restricting the illegal movement of people. Customs official to promote trade. Surveillance agencies to spy on people who are coming for illegal activities. Army to protect the borders. Okay. So this whole concept, everything we will be, it will be managed by the Department of Border Management. Okay. Next is in what way Indian government is regulating its borders or managing its borders. What is the approach being taken up by the government? I mentioned here to secure the borders, we are guarding it. Okay. To promote trade for the legal movement of people, we have the integrated check post. Okay. To develop the people along the border areas, because we have to take care of people also who are along the border areas. For that we have the what you call border area development program, BADP. Okay, so at the same time we have this bilateral mechanism. Suppose for example, under the Shimla agreement, we forced Pakistan to go to agree for the LOC. Okay, so we have this agreement with them. Under the Shimla agreement, we mentioned to Pakistan like you cannot discuss the issue of Kashmir, okay, in any other areas except bilaterally. Issue of Kashmir has to be dealt in a bilateral manner. So we have a agreement with Bangladesh. Okay, the border settlement agreement 2015. Okay, and we have an agreement. Suppose for example we have multiple agreements with China from 1993. We have series of agreements to resolve the border disputes. Okay, so in this way, on one side signing agreements with other countries, we are trying to resolve the border disputes by allocating certain amount of funds for those people who are residing along the borders. We are taking care of those people by allowing free movement of people for promotion of trade. We have the concept of integrated check post. Recently we have another concept called as border huts. Border hut, HAAT. Hut means actually what? Hut means market. Hut, HAAT. Border hut concept. This concept we are trying, especially along the Bangladesh border. What is this border hut concept? People from both sides. That means these sellers from the Indian side and from the Bangladesh side, both sides, the people will come to that market. Then there will be exchange of goods. Then after that they will disperse. So this concept of border hut is specifically for promotion of border trade. Because if you promote this border trade, we can reduce the disputes. Okay, so this is what we are tried. We are actually promoting it. Border heart concept for the promotion of the border trade. Though the amount of border trade might be less, but because it is promoting the healthy relations between the people who are residing on both the sides of the borders, though economically it is less in value, but it is having a huge political and socio-economic impact, social impact. Okay, so in that way, Indian government took up certain approaches to deal with the borders. So, though we have the we have taken up certain approaches to deal with the border disputes, but still we are continuously having the border disputes. So for this, let us try to take some international experience. Internationally, in when it comes to certain regions like African region and European region, how they are able to effectively reduce, okay, in time with respect to their border challenges. If you take the case of African Union right now, under this African Union border program, it could effectively able to build a kind of healthy relations among different countries. As you all know, African continent is the one it suffered the most after the colonialism, especially after the end of the colonial era. It is the African continent. It faced the huge challenges because Britishers divided the borders like anything. They just drew the straight lines. Just now go and see the African borders. Most of the borders you will see as a straight lines. Now just go and just open Atlas and see that. So now under the African Union, under the program called this African Union Border Program, it is actually trying to build some kind of what you call healthy relations. Healthy relations means like what you call uh, between the forces, they are having some kind of joint exercises and this the border heart kind of concept, and due to which it could able to reduce the border dispute challenges, especially among the African Union countries. That's why it is one of the successful border dispute resolution program. Okay, second one is the most famous one, the European Union. As you all know, it is the European Union, the countries within the European Union, they are the one who are responsible for both World War I and World War II. If you see the right now the countries, they are the one who are responsible for both world wars. But right now, it is the most peaceful one. It is the one who it is maintaining the relations in a very peaceful manner. Eventually got Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, European Union got Nobel Peace Prize. I think around in the 2012 2013. The reason is that it just started with six countries. European Union as a European Economic Zone started with six countries in the year 1956 under the treaty called as Treaty of Rome. Under Treaty of Rome in the year 1956 started with six countries. Now we have 27 countries. 27 countries are part of European Union, and it is one of the strongest political and economic bloc right now in the world. Okay, so when we have these kind of borders, or these kind of what you call, sorry, these kind of examples to deal with border disputes in India also, in the India to be specific, in the whole South Asian subcontinent. So why can't the South Asian subcontinent also can have this kind of mechanism? For that reason only, in the year 1985, we established an organization called as SARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. But the thing is, though how much we are trying to establish peaceful relations in the South Asian region, but the main challenge is coming from Pakistan. Okay, that's the reason recently the government has to shift its stand from SARC to BIMSTEC. Previously we used to have the SARC, but now we shifted from SARC to BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC means Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. So now we want to strengthen the relations under the BIMSTEC than with the SAARC, because as Pakistan also one of the members of the SAARC, it is not allowing any decision to be taken up. It can be in terms of motor vehicle agreement, in terms of free trade agreement, in terms of recent launching of a satellite, South Asian satellite. So Pakistan is actually here acting as a stumbling block for the SAARC. With that reason, now we have to shift to the BIMSTEC. So like that, if at least in the coming years ahead, if you try with these regional blocks like the SAARC or BIMSTEC, this at least will provide some kind of resolution, because there we will be having a political and economic relations. So though the dispute with China is a challenge for us right now, but we only strengthening the army is not a solution here. Definitely we have to strengthen up our army. We have to provide better training exercises to them, better technological support to them, better arms and ammunition. But at the same time, we should also take care of the other aspects, the people who are residing along it. Every time fighting waging a war is not a solution. War should be the last resort. War should be the last option. If all options got closed, then we should go for the war. Then there should be a then we should go for the war. If not, in most of the occasions, we have to we should try to strengthen the relations among the countries with whom we are sharing the borders. So what should be the way forward? So suppose for example, if we see, we should take multiple dimensions. On one side, we should encourage innovation. We should innovate concepts like border huts, integrated checkposts. At the same time, we should encourage flag meetings. Flag meeting means at the major level, from both the sides, the forces will be coming. They both will discuss how to reduce the conflict. This is what yesterday was done. If you see yesterday's statement by the defense minister. Okay. Next is strengthening the surveillance system. We should have all the components. Next is collaborative. Collaborative means joint exercises, joint army exercises. Next is cross-border cooperation. In what way? Economic cooperation, people-to-people movement, and public-private partnership. Public-private partnership means encouraging private players to come and take up certain activities along the borders, like construction of these, what you call, establishment of industries. Okay. In that way, if we are able to do, then at least we can provide a better management of borders along the what do you uh, better management of our borders with our neighbors. So with that, we could be able to reduce the conflicts. If not, the challenge will be there. Then it will become a very complex issue. So with that, I'm ending the session. Thank you.